Okay, so my most recent book is No Place for Little Ones. That's the one that's here. I'm actually going to read from Rise of the Thing Down Below, which is coming out in October. It's a summer horror novel just in time for Halloween. So, here we go. Oh, first I want to show you the cover. This is the cover art of the upcoming book. And the artist is actually here, my friend Eric. Hi, Eric. And my friend Harry actually did all the type. Harry did the type. Thanks, guys. So, basically, this is part of a series. No Place for Little One is the second one. Combustion was the first one. And it's an all-male city, gay men, and each book, there's basically a different monster or supernatural creature or something that they have to fight. So this is the beginning of the Rise of the Thing Down Below. There's the epilogue, the prologue rather has there's a little sex, and then I'm going to get to the horror part. So, because all my books start with sex and violence. I mean, I just go for it. That's the way to do it. So. Now, there's on the dock. This one is a lot of this book is about the dock workers. They're a mean group of guys. They're into like hard sex and stuff, and they're all like big guys, bald, funky beards, and like hoop earrings, that type of thing. Total coincidence. But so this is basically right after the sex. All right. Rhodey. Oh, and the guys they call themselves the Dogs. And they're all named after like some sort of a dog. So, Rhodey climbed noisy metal steps and crossed scaffoldings to get to Sector 5 to flick some switches, plunging the area into sleep mode, which offered just emergency lights. The bulky outlines of crates covered in thick tarps down below could look creepy at night, but he didn't give it a second thought. He made his way back downstairs and out of the building. After locking up the big metal warehouse door, he turned to where his truck was sitting in an empty lot under a fluorescent light. Streetlight. Despite the sound of waves splashing up against the sides of the dock being a familiar one, Rhodey paused. Something sounded different. He rounded the nearby corner of the building and stepped out onto the wide boardwalk that ran against the outer walls of the building. There was definitely a more inorganic, lively splashing coming from the water beyond the railing bordering the walkway. He approached it. "What the fuck?" he whispered "What the fuck?" he whispered as he saw the form moving through the water close to shore and underneath the boardwalk he'd just been on. It seemed to be that of a naked man based on the glow reflecting the moonlight. "Hey!" His call was absorbed by the waves. "You! In the water! It's 2 in the morning, you drunk? It's time to get out of the water!" The swimmer several yards away appeared to glance up at him. It was so hard to tell in the dark. Instead of heeding his warning, the swimmer did a series of incredibly fluid dives and leapt through the surface. "What are you, a frickin' merman?" Rhodey muttered. Clearly, the swimmer was choosing to ignore him, which pissed him off. He headed down a nearby flight of wooden stairs that led to the small area of sandy beach in front of the boardwalk in this area. He clombed through the wet sand to get closer to the flowing tide. If this bitch was going to make him get sand in his shoes, there was going to be hell to pay. This might call for a visit to the dog cage. No man, no matter how brazen and sure of his threshold for pain, came out of there the same. "You hearing me, man?" he shouted into the water. At last, the incredible swimmer stopped, bobbing in the water about 15 feet away. Rhodey squinted. Something looked odd about the swimmer's face. It was clear his head was covered in a stringy mess of hair, so perhaps it was dangling over his face and giving him an eerie appearance. "Yeah, you." Rhodey suddenly felt unsure about interacting with the weirdo. "Time to get out of the water. This section of the beach is considered property of Dog." He pointed to the large docking warehouse and the brightly lit letters running along its walls. "Dock of the Gays." This was exactly why his boss, Bulldog, was not looking forward to that new boardwalk attraction drawing tons of men to the shore. "You want to swim out here, you move down about 100 yards. That's the public beach. But you ain't even supposed to be using this at night." "That at night." Rhodey looked around the beach area. "Where are your clothes at? Did you drift away from down there?" The swimmer didn't respond, but his head began to cruise closer to shore, till finally he was rising out of it slowly. He seemed to be struggling to keep his footing in the surf as he shifted direction and began heading toward Rhodey. "Wait, not yet. He didn't die yet." You okay there?" Rhodey asked, preparing to move forward, assuming this guy was indeed drunk, despite his amazing ability to swim. But as they neared each other, Brody froze. The swimmer was walking jerkily, his head seeming to flick back and forth like it was broken on its axis. The arms almost looked like they were missing hands, or like the fingers were sewn together. As the swimmer stopped fully out of the shadow of the boardwalk and into the glow from the dock of the gaze sign, Brody also noticed the almost translucent quality of the pale gray skin that was covered in what seemed to be a tangle of hair and seaweed. The way the swimmer was walking was a complete contrast to his movement in the water, a convulsing, unsure twitching of the entire body. It was almost like the flailing of a fish out of water, something Brody witnessed daily on the many fishing boats that unloaded at Dock of the Gaze. Brody backed away as the tide lapped at his feet. "What's wrong with you?" Within seconds, the swimmer was stepping out of the surf. Shockingly, he appeared to be nearly 7 feet tall. Now Brody could also see why walking was so challenging for the swimmer. His feet were just like his hands. They weren't really feet, they were just one big fleshy flap. Holy shit, Brody groped for the protection necklace cradled between his round pecs as he turned to bolt up the nearby steps. His feet were easily thrown off course by the sinking sand, and he came tumbling to the ground, his face smacking into the bottom wooden plank. Salty blood leaked onto his tongue. He turned quickly to the swimmer, just in time to see a large, slimy appendage spearing out from the pelvic area of the fishman. Brody shrieked as the fishman, reeking of fishy water, landed on his back, but the waves swallowed Brody's bellows of agony.